The proximity alarm jolted security officer Naomi Blackwell from her half-sleep. She'd been drifting, mind wandering through the endless void outside the reinforced windows of Helios 9, the research station she'd called home for the past 18 months. Officer Blackwell to the command center, Captain Dominic Reeves' voice crackled through the intercom. Something in his tone made her blood run cold. Naomi moved quickly through the station's narrow corridors, the metallic floors echoing beneath her boots. Helios 9 wasn't large, a research station housing 12 crew members dedicated to studying deep space phenomena, but it was the farthest human outpost from Earth, orbiting just beyond Neptune's path. "What's happening?" she asked, sliding into the command center where Captain Reeves and communications specialist Julian Reed huddled over the main console. Julian looked up, his dark eyes wide. "We're picking up a distress call." "From where?" Naomi asked. "There's nothing out here but us." "That's just it," Captain Reeves said, his weathered face grave. "It's coming from the Kuiper Belt, specifically from an area we've never detected any activity before." Julian tapped the screen, bringing up a visual representation of the signal. "It started about 40 minutes ago. At first I thought it was just cosmic background radiation, but then the pattern repeated. Look." The screen displayed a series of pulses, long, short, long, long, repeating with mathematical precision. "It's not one of ours," Naomi said. "It wasn't a question." "Definitely not," Captain Reeves confirmed. "We've checked all Earth vessels and outposts. Nothing's registered in that sector ever." Dr. Vivian Ockafer, the station's xenobiologist, entered the command center, her lab coat fluttering behind her. "I heard we're picking up something unusual." "A distress signal," Julian said, "or at least that's what it appears to be." Dr. Ockafer's eyes lit up with excitement. "First contact." "Let's not jump to conclusions," Captain Reeves cautioned. "It could be a natural phenomenon we haven't encountered before." "Natural phenomena don't usually broadcast in perfect mathematical sequences," Julian pointed out. The signal changed suddenly, the pattern shifting. Julian's fingers flew over the console as he tried to isolate and analyze the new sequence. "It's becoming more complex," he said, "almost like it's adjusting to our scanning frequency." A chill crawled up Naomi's spine. "It knows we're listening." Captain Reeves straightened. "I'm calling a full crew meeting. Naomi, get everyone to the conference room in 15 minutes. Julian, keep monitoring that signal. Dr. Ockafer, I want your preliminary analysis on what kind of entity could produce this." Naomi nodded and left to gather the rest of the crew. As the station's security officer, her training had prepared her for many scenarios: system failures, psychological emergencies among the crew, even the remote possibility of hostility from other Earth factions. But nothing had prepared her for this. 15 minutes later, all 12 crew members sat around the conference table. The atmosphere was tense with excitement and apprehension. "As you've all heard by now," Captain Reeves began, "we've detected what appears to be a distress signal from an uncharted region of the Kuiper Belt. We're following first contact protocols, but I want everyone to understand, this is unprecedented." Engineering Chief Marcus Wung spoke up. "Could it be a probe, maybe something old that's finally drifted into range?" "The signal is too complex," Julian replied, "and it's adaptive. When we scan it, it changes almost like it's responding to us." "I've analyzed the mathematical sequence," said Dr. Ockafer. "It contains prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, and what appears to be atomic structures. Whoever or whatever is sending this knows we'd recognize these as intelligent patterns." "So what do we do?" asked Medical Officer Zara Patel. "Respond." Captain Reeves hesitated. "Protocol says we should alert Earth first." "That's a 7-hour delay each way," Naomi pointed out. "If it's really a distress call, they might not have 14 hours. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "I say we respond," Julian finally said. "We can send basic mathematical sequences back, prime numbers, binary code. Nothing that gives away our position or capabilities, just enough to establish communication." Captain Reeves considered this. "All right, but we proceed with extreme caution. Julian, prepare a response signal. Naomi, I want security protocols at maximum. Dr. Ockafer, continue analyzing the signal for any clues about its origin." As the meeting dispersed, Naomi caught Julian by the arm. "Do you really think someone's out there, asking for help?" Julian's expression was a mixture of wonder and concern. "Something's out there, Naomi, and they're reaching out to us." Hours later, Julian's voice came through the station-wide comm system. "Everyone to the command center. Now." Naomi rushed in to find the entire crew already gathered, staring at the main screen. The signal changed again, Julian explained, his voice trembling slightly, and this time it's in English. On the screen, 5 simple words repeated over and over. "We need help, please respond." Captain Reeves looked around at his crew, their faces reflecting the same mixture of awe and trepidation that Naomi felt coursing through her. "Well," he said quietly, "I guess we've been noticed." As Julian prepared to respond to the mysterious message, Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Whatever was out there in the darkness of space had found them, and it was asking for help. But who or what would they be helping? The command center of Helios 9 had transformed overnight. What was once a quiet hub of routine operations now buzzed with frantic energy as the crew worked to establish meaningful communication with the unknown entity. "They're calling themselves the Meridians," Julian explained, gesturing to the screen where the latest transmission was displayed. 3 days had passed since the initial contact, and the messages had grown increasingly complex and coherent. Captain Reeves leaned forward studying the text, and they claimed to be stranded. According to this, their vessel suffered critical damage passing through an asteroid field. They've been drifting for what translates to approximately 4 Earth months. Julian ran a hand through his disheveled hair. He hadn't slept properly since the first message arrived. Dr. Akafer paced the room, unable to contain her excitement. "This is extraordinary, an entirely new species with space-faring technology. Their linguistic adaptation alone is remarkable. They've essentially learned English from our transmissions in just days." "That's what concerns me," Naomi said quietly from her position by the door. "How advanced must they be to decode and learn our language so quickly?" Engineer Marcus Wung nodded in agreement. "And if they're so advanced, why did they get caught in an asteroid field? That's Space Travel 101, avoid the rocks." Captain Reeves held up a hand. "Let's focus on the facts. They claim to be in distress. They've requested assistance. We need to decide our next step." Medical Officer Zara Patel spoke up. "If there are injured beings on that ship, we have a duty to help them." "We also have a duty to this station and its crew," Naomi countered. "We know nothing about these Meridians, their biology, their intentions." Julian's console beeped, signaling another incoming transmission. The room fell silent as he opened the message. "They're asking for our coordinates," he announced. "They say their propulsion systems are still functional, but navigation is damaged. They need our exact position to reach us." An uncomfortable silence filled the room. "We can't give them our location," Naomi said firmly, "not until we know more." "But if they truly need help," Dr. Akafer began. "Then we help without compromising our safety," Captain Reeves interrupted. "Julian, send them the coordinates for a point 10,000 kilometers from our position. We'll observe their approach from there." Julian nodded and began typing out the response. As his fingers moved across the keyboard, the lights in the command center flickered briefly. "What was that?" Zara asked, looking up at the ceiling. Marcus frowned. "Just a power fluctuation. I'll check the systems." As Marcus left, Julian finished the transmission. Message sent, now we wait. They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, a response appeared. "Thank you, friends, we will come. Our estimated arrival, 72 Earth hours. We are forever in your debt, the Meridians." Captain Reeves straightened. "All right, we have 3 days to prepare. Naomi, I want security protocols reviewed and ready. Marcus needs to ensure our systems are at optimal performance. Dr. Akafer, prepare the quarantine bay. If they do come aboard, we need proper containment procedures." "And me?" Julian asked. "Keep communicating. Try to learn more about them, their biology, their technology, their social structure. Anything that might help us prepare." As the crew dispersed to their tasks, Naomi lingered. "Captain, permission to speak freely." "Always, Officer Blackwell." "I think we're moving too fast. Earth Command should be notified before we proceed further." Captain Reeves sighed. "I've already sent a comprehensive report, but by the time we receive a response, the Meridians will already be here. This is happening, Naomi, whether Earth approves or not. History doesn't wait for bureaucracy." Over the next 3 days, communication with the Meridians intensified. They shared limited information about themselves, describing their species as symbiotic organisms with a collective consciousness. They claimed to be explorers, much like the humans of Helios 9, seeking knowledge throughout the cosmos. They sent no images of themselves, explaining that their visual spectrum differed significantly from humans. Julian accepted this explanation, but Naomi found it convenient, too convenient. On the morning of the expected arrival, the entire crew gathered in the observation deck. The viewports offered a panoramic vista of the vast emptiness of space, occasionally punctuated by the distant twinkle of stars. "Anything on scanners?" Captain Reeves asked. Julian checked his tablet. Nothing yet, but if they're coming from the direction they indicated, they should appear from behind that distant asteroid cluster. Hours passed with no sign of the alien vessel. The initial excitement gave way to restlessness, then to doubt. "Maybe they miscalculated," Dr. Okafor suggested, "or our understanding of their time measurement was off." Just as Captain Reeves was about to order a rotating watch schedule, Marcus pointed toward the viewport. "There, something's moving." All eyes turned to where he indicated. At first, it was just a shadow against the stars, a darkness that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Then, as it drew closer, features became distinguishable. The Meridian vessel was unlike anything they had seen before. It wasn't the sleek, metallic construction of human ships. Instead, it appeared almost organic, a massive, elongated shape with undulating ridges along its surface that pulsed with faint bioluminescence. "It's alive," Dr. Okafor whispered, her scientific mind racing to categorize what she was seeing. The ship, if it could be called that, measured at least 3 times the size of Helios 9. As it approached the coordinates they had provided, it slowed, then stopped, hovering in space like a massive predator assessing its prey. Julian's tablet chimed with an incoming message. "We have arrived, friends. Thank you for guiding us. We detect your station nearby. Please provide docking instructions so we may express our gratitude in person." Captain Reeves exchanged glances with Naomi. "Tell them we're preparing a communication link for visual contact first." Julian sent the message, but the response was immediate and unexpected. "Visual communication is not possible due to our damage. Our primary visual systems are offline. Please, we have traveled far. Some of our collective are weakened. We require assistance soon." "They're pushing too hard," Naomi said quietly to the captain. "This doesn't feel right." Before Captain Reeves could respond, the ship's alarms blared to life. Marcus rushed to a nearby console. "Captain, our systems are being scanned. Something's probing our defenses." Julian stared at his tablet in confusion. "I'm detecting multiple transmission sources now, not just the main signal we've been communicating with." The enormous vessel began to move again, not toward the coordinates they had provided, but directly toward Helios 9. "They know exactly where we are," Naomi realized, drawing her sidearm. "They've known all along." Captain Reeves' voice cut through the chaos. "All crew to emergency stations, prepare for possible hostile contact." As the massive alien vessel loomed closer, blocking out the stars beyond, Julian's tablet displayed one final message. "We are coming aboard, prepare to receive us. Resistance is unnecessary, the joining will be painless." The observation deck fell silent as the implications of those words sank in. The distress call had been answered, but as the massive ship eclipsed the viewports, casting the station into shadow, one terrible truth became clear. They hadn't come to be saved. They had come to take. "Seal all airlocks," Captain Reeves commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos of blaring alarms. "Marcus, initiate emergency lockdown protocols." The engineer's fingers flew across the console. "Lockdown initiated, Captain," but he hesitated, eyes widening at the readings. "Something's interfering with our systems. The airlocks aren't responding properly." Naomi activated her comm unit. "This is Officer Blackwell. All personnel arm yourselves and prepare for possible breach. This is not a drill." The massive Meridian vessel had positioned itself alongside Helios 9, its pulsating bioluminescent surface casting an eerie blue glow through the viewports. Up close, the organic nature of the ship became more apparent. The hull seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting in slow, rhythmic movements. "Julian, keep trying to communicate," Captain Reeves ordered. "Tell them to back off immediately or we'll consider it a hostile act." Julian nodded and began typing, but before he could send the message, his screen went dark, then flickered back to life with new text scrolling across it. "Do not fear, we come in peace. Your technology is primitive but compatible. We must board to complete the symbiosis. Resistance causes unnecessary pain." Dr. Okafor approached the screen, fascination momentarily overriding her fear. "Symbiosis. They mentioned being symbiotic organisms before, but I assumed they meant among themselves." "I think they're being quite clear about their intentions now," Naomi said grimly. "They want to join with us, whatever that means." A sudden metallic groan echoed through the station, followed by the distinct hiss of an airlock engaging. "Breach at airlock 3, Marcus shouted. "Something's overriding our systems." Captain Reeves drew his weapon. "Naomi, take Julian and secure that airlock. Zara, get to the medical bay and prepare emergency protocols. Dr. Akafer and Marcus, stay here and try to regain control of our systems. As Naomi and Julian raced through the corridors toward Airlock 3, the station's lighting flickered, plunging sections into momentary darkness before emergency power kicked in. I've been analyzing their transmissions, Julian said breathlessly as they ran. There's been encrypted data embedded in every message, code that's been infiltrating our system since first contact. They planned this from the beginning, Naomi realized. The distress call was bait. They reached the corridor leading to Airlock 3 and slowed, approaching cautiously with weapons raised. The airlock door was partially open, a viscous, translucent substance seeping through the gap and spreading across the floor like a living puddle. "What is that?" Julian whispered, taking an involuntary step back. Before Naomi could respond, her comm unit crackled. "Officer Blackwell," came Dr. Akafer's excited voice, "don't engage. I'm detecting extraordinary biological readings from that substance. It's like nothing we've ever encountered." "That's not reassuring, Doctor," Naomi replied, watching as the substance continued to spread, now beginning to climb the walls in thin, vein-like tendrils. Julian gestured to a maintenance closet nearby. "In there, we need to contain this section." They backed into the closet, Julian sealing the door behind them. Through a small window, they watched as the corridor filled with the strange, glowing substance. Naomi to command, Airlock 3 is completely compromised. Some kind of biological agent is spreading through the adjacent corridor. Understood, Captain Reeves responded. We're seeing similar breaches at Airlocks 1 and 4. The station is being systematically infiltrated. Julian had pulled out his tablet and was working furiously. Captain, I think I've decoded part of their encrypted transmissions. It's disturbing. They're not just visitors, they're parasites. They need host organisms to survive. The silence that followed was deafening. They need us, Captain Reeves finally said, our bodies. Yes, but there's more, Julian continued, his voice shaking. According to this data, they consider it a symbiotic relationship. They believe they're offering us evolution by merging with our biological forms. Through the window, Naomi watched as the substance coalesced into more defined shapes, humanoid figures forming from the viscous material, their features indistinct but recognizably bipedal. They're trying to look like us, she whispered, to make us feel safe. In the command center, Captain Reeves made a decision. All personnel, this is now a code black scenario. Abandon all attempts at communication or containment. Our priority is evacuation. Proceed to the emergency shuttle bay immediately. Naomi and Julian exchanged glances. The emergency shuttle could hold the entire crew but had limited supplies and range. We need to get to the shuttle bay, Naomi said, but we're cut off. Julian pointed to a maintenance shaft access panel in the ceiling. We can use the maintenance tunnels. They run throughout the station. As they climbed into the narrow maintenance shaft, they could hear something scratching at the door they had just sealed, something trying to get in. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Zara Patel was hurriedly packing essential supplies when the lights flickered again. When they stabilized, she found herself facing what appeared to be Technical Officer Diana Foster. Diana, Zara said with relief, we need to get to the shuttle bay. But something was wrong. Diana's movements were too fluid, her eyes too vacant. When she spoke, her voice had an unnatural cadence. No need for evacuation, Zara. The Meridians are here to help us evolve, to join with us. It's painless, peaceful, better. Zara backed away slowly. You're not Diana. The thing wearing Diana's form smiled, the expression not quite reaching its eyes. I am Diana improved, Diana evolved, soon you will understand. In the command center, Captain Reeves watched in horror as the security feeds showed more of his crew encountering these doppelgangers throughout the station. Some were already being overtaken, their bodies enveloped by the translucent substance as they struggled. Marcus, Dr. Akafer, we need to move now, he ordered. The shuttle bay is our only chance. But Dr. Akafer wasn't listening. She stood transfixed before a viewport, watching as tendrils from the Meridian vessel reached toward the station like seeking fingers. It's remarkable, she whispered. Their entire ship is a single organism, a collective consciousness housed in a biological vessel. Imagine what we could learn. Vivian, Captain Reeves said sharply, we need to go. She turned to him, her eyes shining with an unnatural light. But why would we leave, Captain? They're offering us everything, knowledge, evolution, eternity. Marcus stepped back, realizing what had happened. She's been compromised. Captain Reeves raised his weapon reluctantly. Vivian, step away from the viewport. Dr. Akafer smiled serenely. The joining has already begun, Captain, throughout the station. Those who resist suffer, those who accept transcend. Through the station's maintenance tunnels, Naomi and Julian made their way toward the shuttle bay, hearing occasional screams and plays echoing through the ventilation system. "How many do you think are left?" Julian asked quietly. "Not enough," Naomi replied. "But we keep moving." They reached an access point above the corridor leading to the shuttle bay. Peering through the grate, they could see Captain Reeves and Marcus approaching from the opposite direction. Naomi pushed open the grate and dropped down. "Captain." Reeves spun, weapon raised, then lowered it in relief. "Naomi, Julian, thank God." "Where's Dr. Okafor?" Julian asked. "Gone," Marcus said grimly. "Taken, and we've lost contact with Zara and at least 4 others." Captain Reeves checked his tablet. "The shuttle is prepped and ready, we just need to reach it." As they approached the shuttle bay doors, the lights throughout the corridor suddenly went out, plunging them into darkness before the emergency lights kicked on with a dull red glow. "They're cutting power," Marcus warned, "trying to trap us." The shuttle bay doors slid open, revealing the sleek emergency vessel within, their only hope of escape. But standing between them and the shuttle were 5 figures, each a perfect replica of crew members they had known. Among them stood Dr. Okafor and Diana Foster, their expressions blank yet somehow expectant. "You don't need to run," Dr. Okafor's doppelganger said gently. "The Meridians offer transcendence. Why fight your evolution?" Naomi raised her weapon. "That's not evolution, it's extinction." Captain Reeves stepped forward. "We choose our own fate, not yours." The 5 figures began to move toward them with unnatural synchronicity. Behind them, through the viewport overlooking the shuttle bay, the massive Meridian vessel pulsed with heightened intensity, as if sensing the imminent confrontation. "We need a distraction," Naomi whispered to the others. "Something to give us time to reach the shuttle." Julian's eyes widened as an idea struck him. "The emergency decompression protocol, if we trigger it." "We could blow them into space," Marcus finished, "but we'd have seconds to reach the shuttle before the bay doors open." Captain Reeves nodded grimly. "Do it." As the Meridian duplicates advanced, their forms beginning to ripple and distort in anticipation of assimilation, the 4 remaining humans prepared for their final desperate gambit, a race against both the parasitic entities before them and the vacuum of space itself. The future of humanity now hinged on who would reach the shuttle first: the last uncompromised crew of Helios 9, or the entities that had answered their distress call with false salvation and the promise. "Now," Captain Reeves shouted, and Marcus slammed his palm against the emergency decompression panel. A klaxon wailed as red warning lights flashed throughout the shuttle bay. "Warning, emergency decompression in 15 seconds, announced the station's automated system. The Meridian duplicates hesitated, their unified movements faltering as they processed this unexpected development. In that moment of confusion, Naomi acted. "Go," she yelled, firing her weapon at the ceiling above the duplicates. Sparks showered down as power conduits ruptured, momentarily disorienting their adversaries. The 4 humans sprinted toward the shuttle, Julian reaching it first and punching the access code into the airlock. The door slid open with agonizing slowness. 10 seconds to decompression, the system warned. The Meridian entities recovered quickly, their movements becoming more fluid, less human. Dr. Okafor's duplicate began to transform, her body elongating as translucent tendrils erupted from her fingertips. "They're dropping the pretense," Marcus gasped as they piled into the shuttle. 5 seconds to decompression. Captain Reeves slammed his hand on the shuttle's door controls, but the closing mechanism struggled to engage. "Something's blocking it," he shouted. A viscous tendril had wedged itself between the door and frame, preventing the airlock from sealing. It began to pulse and expand, forcing the door back open as more tendrils snaked through the widening gap. 3 seconds. Naomi didn't hesitate. She brought her weapon down on the tendril with all her strength, severing it with a spray of phosphorescent fluid. The creature outside emitted a high-pitched shriek that reverberated through their bones. 2 seconds. The door finally sealed with a pneumatic hiss just as the bay doors began to open. Through the viewport, they watched as the Meridian duplicates were pulled toward the vacuum of space. Rather than panic, the entities merged into a single undulating mass that anchored itself to the floor using dozens of tendrils. 1 second. "Launch now," Naomi commanded. Julian at the controls fired the emergency thrusters. The shuttle lurched forward just as the bay fully depressurized. They shot out into space, the sudden acceleration throwing them against their restraints. Behind them, Helios 9 grew smaller, the Meridian vessel still attached to its hull like a parasite feeding on a host. "We made it," Marcus breathed, his voice shaking with adrenaline and relief. But Captain Reeves wasn't celebrating. "For now," he said grimly. "Julian, what's our status?" Julian scanned the shuttle's systems. "Life support fully functional. We have provisions for approximately 30 days. Emergency beacon activated." "Any response from Earth Command?" Naomi asked. "Nothing yet, but the signal's going out." Captain Reeves moved to the rear viewport, watching as Helios 9 receded into the distance. "How long before they realize we've escaped?" "They already know," Julian said quietly, pointing to the scanner. "Look." On the display, a smaller biological mass had detached from the main Meridian vessel and was moving in their direction. "They're pursuing us," Marcus said, his momentary relief evaporating. Naomi checked the shuttle's defensive capabilities, minimal at best. "We can't outrun them for long. This shuttle wasn't designed for extended flight." Captain Reeves made a decision. "Set course for Titan Outpost. It's the closest human settlement." "That's still 16 days at maximum speed," Julian pointed out, "and we'd be leading them directly to another human colony." "We don't have a choice," the captain replied. "We need to warn Earth about this threat, and Titan has the communication array to reach them instantly." As Julian adjusted their course, Naomi studied the pursuing biological craft. "They're not gaining on us yet. Maybe the shuttle's faster than we thought." "Or maybe they're just toying with us," Marcus muttered. Hours passed in tense silence. The Meridian pursuit craft maintained a constant distance, neither gaining nor falling behind. Inside the shuttle, the four survivors took turns monitoring the scanners while trying to process the horror they had witnessed. During his watch, Julian made a discovery. "I've been analyzing the data I managed to download before we escaped," he told the others. "I think I understand what they are now." He displayed a complex diagram on the shuttle's main screen. "The Meridians aren't just parasites, they're a composite organism. They integrate the biological material and consciousness of their hosts into their collective." "You mean our crew is still alive in some form?" Marcus asked, horrified. "In a manner of speaking," Julian confirmed. "Their biological matter and aspects of their consciousness have been absorbed. The Meridians use this to understand and mimic their hosts, making it easier to infiltrate and assimilate new populations." Naomi shuddered. "That explains how they learned our language so quickly." "And why they consider it evolution rather than destruction," Captain Reeves added. "In their view, they're preserving aspects of us." "But we lose everything that makes us individuals," Naomi countered. "Our autonomy, our identity, it's not symbiosis, it's extinction by another name." A sudden alarm cut through their discussion. Julian rushed to the console. "They're accelerating, closing distance fast." The pursuing craft had changed its strategy, surging toward them with alarming speed. "Evasive maneuvers," Captain Reeves ordered. Julian pushed the shuttle's engines beyond their recommended limits, the frame shuddering under the strain. "They're still gaining." On the scanner, they watched as the biological craft extended itself, reshaping into a more aerodynamic form that cut through space with frightening efficiency. "They're adapting," Marcus realized, "learning from our technology and improving on it." The distance between the vessels shrunk rapidly. Through the viewport, they could now see the pursuing craft clearly, a streamlined, almost predatory shape pulsing with the same bioluminescence as the main vessel. "Weapons?" Naomi asked desperately. "One defensive pulse charge," Julian reported. "It might stun them temporarily, but at this range." "Save it," Captain Reeves ordered. "We'll need it when they're right on top of us." The Meridian craft continued its relentless approach. When it was less than 50 meters behind them, tendrils began to extend from its leading edge, reaching toward the shuttle like hungry fingers. "Now," Naomi shouted. Julian fired the pulse charge. A burst of electromagnetic energy erupted from the shuttle's rear, engulfing the pursuing craft. The tendrils recoiled as the entire organism convulsed, its bioluminescence flickering erratically. "It worked," Marcus exclaimed. But their victory was short-lived. Within moments, the creature began to recover, its light stabilizing as it resumed pursuit. "They're adapting to the pulse," Julian reported grimly. "Next time it won't be as effective." Captain Reeves studied their course options. "There," he said, pointing to a dense asteroid field ahead, "we can lose them in there." "The shuttle isn't designed for that kind of maneuvering," Marcus warned. "Neither are they," Naomi pointed out. "Biological or not, they still have to obey the laws of physics." Julian adjusted their course, aiming for the asteroid field. Entering in 30 seconds, everyone strap in. The shuttle plunged into the chaotic jumble of spinning rocks and debris. Julian's hands moved with precision over the controls, guiding them through narrow gaps between massive asteroids. Behind them, the Meridian craft followed, its form rippling and contorting as it navigated the obstacles. "They're still adapting," Naomi observed, watching as the creature became more serpentine, weaving through spaces too small for its previous form. Julian pushed the shuttle harder, skimming dangerously close to the surface of a massive asteroid. "I have an idea, that cluster ahead if I can lure them into it." He abruptly cut the engines, allowing momentum to carry them past a particularly dense group of asteroids, then fired the thrusters at full power. The sudden acceleration threw them forward just as several asteroids collided behind them. The pursuing Meridian craft couldn't react in time. It was caught between the colliding masses, its biological structure crushed and torn. A silent explosion of luminescent fluid scattered through space as the creature was obliterated. "You did it," Marcus shouted, clapping Julian on the shoulder. But their celebration was premature. The scanner began to register multiple new signals emerging from the direction of Helios 9. "They've sent more," Captain Reeves said quietly, "dozens more." On the screen, a swarm of smaller biological craft approached in formation, learning from the mistake of their destroyed predecessor. "We can't outrun them all," Naomi realized, "and the asteroid field won't work a second time." Julian checked their position. "We're still 13 days from Titan at maximum speed." A heavy silence fell over the shuttle as the reality of their situation sank in. "We have to warn Earth," Captain Reeves finally said, "even if we don't make it." Julian nodded. "I can modify our emergency beacon to carry a data package, everything we know about the Meridians, their capabilities, their weaknesses." "Do it," the captain ordered. "We'll continue toward Titan. Maybe we can reach the long-range communication array before they catch us." As Julian worked on modifying the beacon, Naomi moved to Captain Reeves' side. "What are our real chances?" she asked quietly. He met her gaze steadily. "You know the answer to that." She nodded, accepting the truth. "Then we make every second count, make sure Earth is ready for them." The hours that followed were a desperate race against their pursuers. Julian completed the modified beacon, loading it with all their data on the Meridians and launching it on a trajectory toward Earth. Whether it would reach its destination before being intercepted remained uncertain. As the swarm of pursuing craft drew closer, the 4 survivors of Helios 9 prepared for their final stand. They had failed to recognize the true nature of the distress call until it was too late. Now their own distress signal carried a warning. The Meridians were coming. They answered calls for help not out of compassion but hunger, and humanity needed to be ready. In the vacuum of space, as the bioluminescent swarm closed in around their shuttle, Naomi Blackwell looked out at the distant stars. At Earth, somewhere beyond her vision but always in her heart. "They answered our distress call," she whispered, "but they didn't come to save us." The shuttle's lights flickered as the first of the Meridian craft made contact with their hull. The final battle for humanity's future had begun, not with the crew of Helios 9, but with the warning they had sacrificed everything to send. Earth would know, Earth would prepare. And perhaps when the Meridians arrived seeking new hosts, they would find not victims but resistance.